If you grew up going to indoor shopping malls in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, then you probably have some special memories associated with them. This was when shopping malls were great and everyone loved them. In this video, we will take a look back at some of the things that we miss about malls. Long before we had social media, we had indoor shopping malls. These were places where we hung out with friends and ran into people we knew. There was also a good chance that you would accidentally bump into your crush. Maybe you would finally get the courage to talk to them, and if so, perhaps the mall was the first date that you would have. Many of these malls were hours and hours of entertainment. It's hard to believe, but there was a time when it felt like $20 went a long way at the mall. So what could you do with $20? Well, there were a ton of stores that you could shop at, and many of those stores are no longer around. Remember looking for that next great book at Walden Books or B. Dalton Books? If you were into magazines, they had a pretty good selection of those as well. Most of the time, you could pick them off of the shelf and give them a quick read without even paying. Today, most of those magazines are no longer in print. Some of the larger anchor stores, like Montgomery Ward's and Sears, are also gone. They had just about everything you needed, from clothes to exterior house paint and everything in between. These were always the best places to shop during the Christmas season. Both of these stores had catalogs that kids drooled over what was inside. One of the most special places in the mall was the arcade. This is back when games first appeared in the arcade rather than on a video game console at home. If you had $5, then you could play for hours. These old arcades were full of flashing lights and people. Sometimes you had to wait your turn just to play the more popular games. People who waited usually placed their quarter on the console to claim that they had the game next. This was a time period when some just went there to watch other people play games. If the game was good or you were a good player, you might have a decent crowd around you watching you play the game. People loved trying to get their name at the top of the high scores, and occasionally when that happened, the crowd around you might give you an applause. I haven't seen anything like that in several decades. Do you remember how festive these old malls used to be during the Christmas season? Every store window was decorated from top to bottom. Usually there were some displays throughout the mall that were really cool animatronics. Most of the time it was elves working in Santa's workshop building the toys for good little girls and boys. The mall was also the best place to meet Santa and tell him what you wanted for Christmas. Back then you could wait in line for hours just to get 5 minutes with him and a photo. One of the best things about shopping in these old mall stores was the ability to buy things completely anonymous. Cash was the preferred method of payment, and they never asked you for your phone number or email. There was never any such thing as a reward program. The price you saw is what you paid, and hopefully you caught it on sale. At one time, malls seemed to have a distinctive smell that couldn't be found anywhere else. When you caught a whiff of it right when you opened the doors, you knew you were in for some fun. The overall smell is somewhat difficult to explain, but every mall had it. Maybe it was the money, or perhaps it was the people. I'm not sure. But one thing is for sure, certain areas were unmistakably awesome. Cologne and perfume counters were the perfect place to get that free spray of some smell good just in case you ran into your crush. If he or she complimented you on it, then you'd probably go back to buy a bottle. Food courts had their own great smell, and many of these food places handed out free samples, especially if it was Chinese food. The pretzel shops seemed to pump a smell into the air that all made us crave one. The popcorn and hot nut stores were the exact same way. It was difficult to pass by those without getting something. One of the best stores in the mall was Hickory Farms. This was another place where you could get a free sample or two. They had a huge variety of items, and they were the perfect place to get something for the family during the holidays. Malls in those days had water fountains, and they had their very own sort of chlorine smell, as well as a light mist that you would feel as you walked by. The sound of the water would draw you in, and you would peek at all the coins in the water. People loved to throw coins in and make a wish. Kids threw them in and wished for their favorite dream toy at Christmas. Teens threw the coins in and hoped that they would go out with their favorite crush. Usually these water fountains were great gathering places to meet other people. If you are lucky enough to still have a mall near you, then I'm curious. Does it have a working water fountain? Another place that we all wanted to go to was Orange Julius. I'm talking about the old school Orange Julius, not the one that is connected with Dairy Queen like you see today. They had the frothy, creamy beverage that we all craved, and it tasted a lot like candy. This old Orange Julius had a devil on the logo. It was probably there to let us know that it was going to get us one way or another. When the sharper image started appearing in malls, we all went in there to take a peek at the latest and greatest gadgets. Oh, and check out that massaging chair. I want one. Unfortunately, most of the items in that store were super expensive, so most people just went in there looking and never buying. Do you remember seeing the organ and piano store in the mall? I never knew anyone who actually purchased a piano from there, but they sure drew a large crowd. They always had that one guy out front that was like a rock star playing the piano. Everyone gathered around him to listen to what he was playing, and he was the greatest musician that they had ever heard. In reality, he probably would have never drawn that sort of crowd anywhere else. Malls used to have some pretty amazing record and tape stores in them. People could spend hours in there thumbing through the records or staring at the wall of cassette tapes. These types of places had the music that you were looking for and so much more. They were also great places to find some cool concert t-shirts. Malls were the perfect place to go if you needed a gift but you had no idea what to buy. There were a lot of stores, and there was a very good chance that you would find something. Malls were also the perfect place to go when the weather outside wasn't too good. Maybe it was hot, cold, rainy, or snowy. Some malls were so special that they had their very own theater attached to them, and that usually led to more people being inside the mall. Food courts had something for everyone, but occasionally some malls had some really good restaurants inside them. You see, malls were our town center at one time, and we didn't have social media, but the mall was our social media, only it was better because it was in person. What was your favorite mall, and what are some of the memories that you made at that mall? Let us know in the comments below. As always, thank you so much for watching.